Jens Ewert, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Tim. Thanks for having me.
The International Biopharma Industry Week Shanghai is underway now, and of course one of the things that's under discussion is how to turn the city into an international biomedicine cluster is the word that's being thrown around. From your point of view, how does Shanghai go about that?
Yeah, it's great to see that Shanghai is embracing that drive for a different future, I suppose, that we've seen so far in the last 30 years or 40 years now here. Now, how real, or what are the key elements that come into my mind, at least, is there are probably 3 or 4 that I would like to highlight. Let me start with the first one, which I think to me is the most important, which is talent. Talent is going to be key. It's not just growing talent in Shanghai, it's also attracting talent from outside. And probably the third piece that needs not to be forgotten today is also the flow of talent in between various countries, and so that liberty of movement of people is really, really important. Second is, of course, infrastructure, and I think these biotech parks and the cluster around it, and the emphasis that they have now given beyond Zhangjiang into 4 or 5 other areas, Lingang, Baoshan, Hongqiao. The government support behind it would be a third area, which goes through incentives, all sorts that are going to be provided to innovators. Is important as well. And then finally, needs to build a kind of an ecosystem, clusters. And I think Shanghai, in that sense, is well positioned because it's sitting in the heart of the Yangtze River Delta with, I think, surrounding provinces that can build that cluster that is going to be enabling the biopharma industry going forward.
And how far away is the city from achieving that goal?
Let me just maybe start off with saying that I do think Shanghai is actually doing quite well already. Let me point out to R&D centers that have been set up or already been operated in Shanghai in particular. Yes, there's a number of multinationals that do that. I think there's 20 or so now these days that have been counted. But there's also local companies that are setting up R&D centers. I think also from a factual perspective, patents that have come out, patent registrations that have come out of Zhangjiang and other districts have increased significantly last year. I think they represent nearly 12–15% of all patents in China in the biopharma sector. So you see that there is already something in the making, so to say. Certainly the leveraging the position of Shanghai within its cluster, as I earlier alluded to, and I'm thinking in particular about Suzhou and Wuxi, and to some extent Hangzhou as well. I think that building that ecosystem, there's something in the making. So I think Shanghai is doing quite well.
You mentioned there are a lot of multinational companies in this space, in areas like Zhangjiang and Lingang, but you also said there are a rising number of local Chinese companies. What is the balance like in this sector at the moment in biomedicine? Who's playing a bigger role? Who's playing a rising role?
It is obvious to see that maybe some Chinese companies today do have certainly abundant capital these days, and so using that capital to do the research and the innovation that. But however, I mean, coming back to the multinationals. Yes, we do have a number of them that have been setting up for a number of years already and increasing. I think the last one was Astra just this week, right? Announcing further development of their localized operations, so to say, in terms of R&D. I think that mix is providing, again, an ecosystem to both that will enable both players to rise further.
Jens Ewert, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.